Hey, Adam from Buzzy here. I wanted to give you a preview of some new functionality that we've done around things like logging in. You're probably familiar with our passwordless login, which is very simple, works really well. In certain situations, you might have a requirement for a password login as an alternative. We see that a lot of users forget passwords, so the passwordless tends to work the best, the most of the time. But if, for example, let's say you can't get an email link on that device, or for whatever reason you want to use a password, then that option's there. We also see that there's another scenario of where you want to be able to invite users to a system. So this might be an example of where you might see registrations, you might have a human interact with that, and you don't want to send them a link automatically and let them sign up to the system. You want to go through a bit of a triage and see whether they are who they say they are, and you can then invite them. Also, the scenario of where you might just want to invite people to say, hey, I want to invite you to this application, give you this particular role, invite you to this organization or team. So those scenarios are there. So let's have a look at the new features. So we've made this also much simpler for things like sending the passwordless token. So in the past, you had to do this with a rule. Now we've created an action for this. This is just a sample app, and you can configure this to look and feel to meet your requirements, and that's the flexibility. Also for things like where you might be entering a password field, if you were setting up an account, you could enter 2 password fields and have rules and only enable the buttons when the 2 password fields were valid. You can also create validation on that password with particular criteria that you might set of how many characters long and whether it's got to have numbers and that. So you can set all that up as per the normal validation rules with your fields. So I'm not going to go into any of that today. So let's have a look over here. So we've got like an email address, email field on this particular form. And I've just got a whole bunch of the demos just baked into this one form. So we've got an email address, we've got a password. Again, like I said, you could have 2 passwords. Now, where it gets to the new functionality is if I click on this particular button, for example, send login link, I've now got an action which is email direct login link, which is passwordless login. So again, you don't have to set up a rule anymore. You can just set an action on that button, and the button will take some parameters. So if you're doing a passwordless, it needs to know the email address that you're going to send that link to. So you're going to select from your available fields that email address. You can also then define the pending screen. So that's the screen that a user will confirm that they've sent you've sent the link to them, and also tell them to please check their email, and then the action will be out of app. So they'll go in and they'll click in that link, and then that will take them into the system. And then there's the page that you go to once you have successfully logged in. So that might be directing them to the home page. Now, in terms of how you set up your app, if you've been through some of the demos and scenarios, you might have certain additional steps that they need to do before they get to that page if it's their first time in. So you might go to, to accept a license screen. You also might go through an onboarding flow. So that's, that's just business as usual, so to speak. So that allows you to do that. Now, if you publish this app, so let's just convert this to a new app, and this is the first time in over here. So just bear with me while I put in the file key and continue. So we're going to publish this app for the first time. We're about to change this, so we automatically will create this for you from the get-go. But actually, I'm just going to let's just convert that to a new app again. Sorry, that's just the first time in after I've changed servers and that. I just couldn't recognize it. I need to do it again. So what it's going to do is it's going to create an application. And if we have a look at this application, we also want to be able to change some settings. Now, when a user logs in securely, if you think about it, if you've set that application to private, it means that you require a login to be able to get to it. So over here, if we go to settings and we make this private, we're now going to have to be one of the participants of that app before we can get into it. So otherwise, you're going to be kind of coming to a locked door. So there's a number of important things that you need to configure in the application. So you're going to select things like your sign-in screen over here. So we'll just choose, again, just going back to the Figma file. This is the page over here. So this is my login page. We're going to set it to that. So we're going to send the sign-in confirmation screen. So once you've got to that screen, we can. So I've just got my login pending page. You can call that obviously whatever you want. You might have an onboarding screen. I'm going to just set that to the start page. I don't have a login flow as part of this, and then you might have an accept license screen. You also need to be able to define a reset password screen. So this is the screen that you'll come to when you forget your password and that. And I'll go through this, So I'll just set those up now, just so you know that they're there. One of the other things that I just mentioned is that at the moment, if we look at the participants of this application, there's only one person, which is me. And because it's private, even if I give you a login to the system, you're not going to be able to get into this application. So you need to be able to add either the individual users or the organization or the team. Now, it would be a pain to add each user individually. It just doesn't make sense. But we've made it really easy that you can come in and you can create an application, an organization, and within that organization you might create teams that you can use to segment your users. For, you might have administrators or different types of users that you can do that. Now, once you've set up those teams, you can now come into and set up that demo. Oh, sorry, this is my demo. But set up that application and be able to allow them to be added to. So again, you could add things like the teams or the organizations to this, which would then allow you to configure that now in the plugin. So there's a bit of setup required. You just need to think about that, of how you want to manage your security in your organizations. If I come back in here now, what we can see is that we can now select, we've only got one, but you could select from the organization or multiple organizations that are on that application to be able to do that. And when a user signs up, if you've got this set up on the server, now you can set your Buzzy server up to allow anyone to register, or you have to be invited. Now that's a setting that you do at the server level, and it's a security setting that, again, it just depends on your specific use case. So in this example, we've got this, you have to be invited, but once you're invited, or in this example, once you log in, you're automatically going to be added to this organization. So if you think about it, if you did allow everyone to register and you want to give them access to that application, you need to, one, allow everyone to register, and when they do register, this action will automatically add them into, in this example, the Acme Inc. organization. So that's just an important part of the process. So I'll skip through. So that's sending a passwordless link. I'll skip through some of the other examples. They're very similar. You can log in with a password, and again, you're setting an extra parameter, which is what is the password field. Now, if you look at the password field over here, so if you looked at a password field as an example, there's a new field type called password. So that puts a mask on the field, so you can't see what you're typing in. So that's something that you can control. Again, if you want to allow people to view that data, that's not a security thing, it's an obscurity, it's just putting a mask on it. So if you wanted to allow somebody to view that password, you could click a button which said something, which then showed you just a text field which showed you the password. So that's something that you can design in your application that's specific to your use case. So similarly, like if you wanted them to, let's say somebody was changing their password and you put in your old password and the new password, you can make them put the new password in 2 times or 3 times or 4 times to make sure that they've got it right. So those are all things from a user interface design that you're going to customize based on your specific application. So just coming back to the example over here. So that's the login with password action. So that's login with email and password. In the scenario where you've got password, you need to think of a lot of other screens. So this is why the passwordless one is so easy, because you really only have to think of one scenario. You put your email address in and it sends you a link. For a passwordless password system, you need to think about the ability you forgot your password. And again, similarly, you will define what the email field is and what the confirmation screen is. Because remember, you're going to send an email to somebody, so you need to have a confirmation screen that says, "Hey, we've sent you your link. Please go check your email. If you can't find it, check your spam or whatever it is." So that's the reset password link. And then the last one on this particular example screen over here is the ability to create an account. So you can create an account there's 3 ways you can do that. With a passwordless link. So if you've just got allowing people to register and you're supporting passwordless, they just put in the email address and they'll be invited to the system. They'll be automatically added to the team or organization like we talked about before, but they'll be able to then get into the system. Now, if you've got a password system, you could have a screen which allows them to create their account and sign up. So you might put in your email address and your password and click create account. You'll then be emailed a link because we want to verify that link. If you put in your link, joe@thewhitehouse.org, and we need to send you a link to make sure that you are joe@thewhitehouse.org before you can log in. So that's always the next step. And then once you're in, then now you can when you log back in, you log out and log back in, you'll be able to use that password as a way to log in without getting a token. Now, there's a bunch of extra screens over here that I've defined. This is just my dummy homepage. The dummy homepage for the user logged in, there's a couple of scenarios. One is the ability to change your password. And again, the change your password also has, that's the reset password one. When you forgot your password, you get taken to this page. And that was the one, remember, we set in the app settings and we told it what is the reset pages. The reason we did that in the app settings is that you might get that link from wherever and it's not a continuous flow of go here, then go to that screen. You need to click on that link and that link takes you to this screen. But the one that we were just talking about was the change your password. That has a new action type of change password. It takes a parameter of your old password and the new password. Now, if you wanted to, again, make multiple fields for the new password before you enable this button, that's up to you to define that. And again, just you want to keep it as simple and as foolproof as possible. In a flow as well, this is just a sample over here. You might have the accept license, and again, this is existing functionality, so nothing has really changed over here. But this sample over here is just a quick demo that I created for inviting users to the system. So in a system that is closed, like you don't allow self-registration, or if you just wanted to invite people, hey, I want to invite, Bob or Mary to this application, you need to be able to do that. And really the only thing you need is this invite button in your user interface. And again, this is just a very simple sample. So this is the new invite user action. And then it takes a parameter of an email. And it also takes the parameter of which organization to automatically add that user to so that they can get access to that app. So there is an optional parameter here. So if you imagine the scenario of users registering anonymously, they go and put in their name, Joe Blogs, enter some details. That then sends a notification to, let's say, the administrator somewhere in the system that at some later time that day or the next day or a week later, whatever, will pick that up and say, okay, I'm going to verify who this person is, and now I need to invite them. But actually, I want that record that they submitted anonymously. We didn't know who they were at the time of submission. I want them to be the creator, because that's going to become their user profile record or document in the system. So if you do this, it will do a number of things. It will, one, invite the user for the email address and set them up as a user in the system. It will also add them to the team. That's the second thing. And the third thing it will do is that record that you use to invite them, it will make that person, that new user, the creator of that row. Now that then can be used as their user profile record, so you don't have to have a separate record for registration, separate one for user profile. So they register with a user profile anonymously, and then eventually it becomes theirs once they get approved. So hopefully that makes sense. So and again, this is just a very simple The example over here was that I was just adding users, and then they end up in this list, and then I can just invite them, and you get an invite link. Now, the email links that you can set up on your server are customizable. You can put your own logo in there. You can hook it up to your own email server, so it's coming from your email server. You can also change some of the text in there. There's about 4 or 5 different parameters that you can. So when a user gets that welcome email, hey, you've been invited to Acme Inc. Follow these instructions, blah, 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 and, looking forward to having you on board. So that's all done, and it's customizable on that server's level. So hopefully that made sense. Again, so we've added in a whole bunch of these new login options. So you can do password, you can invite users, and you can, if you're doing password, then you need to think about, resetting your password and all that sort of stuff. All the other standard ones like logging out and the onboarding, accept license, don't accept license, and completing setup as part of onboarding, and that they've all existed previously and continue to exist. So again, much easier to be able to set these flows up and do it right from Figma. Have fun, give us feedback, and thanks for watching.